Thanks very much. It's my great pleasure today to be able to present our project on behalf of the Alfred Late Effects Clinic and also our collaborators, which are the Leukemia Foundation and SMICS. For context, in Australia, 31 people are diagnosed with a blood cancer every day. For a proportion of these, they'll need stem cell transplantation in addition to above and beyond their usual treatment in order to increase their chances of cure. In 2012, more than 1,500 stem cell transplants, also known as bone marrow transplants, were performed in Australia, and a quarter of these were done in Victoria. Over the past decade or so, we've made major progress in improving survival after transplantation, and as a result, this procedure is now available to increasing numbers of people, including older persons. As a result, there are now more than 11,000 survivors in Australia who are requiring follow-up care. Having said that, stem cell transplantation is a highly aggressive and demanding medical intervention, and survivors are therefore at the very highest possible risk of late effects, which can include physical, social, psychological, or even spiritual long-term effects. Through the clinic at the Alfred, our Late Effects Clinic, we've observed over a period of time very high rates of obesity, hypertension, dyslipidemia, and diabetes, much higher than you would expect in the general Australian population. And so it seemed that lifestyle modification would have the potential to impact these risk factors significantly. Our project, therefore, is a 12-month community-based lifestyle modification intervention. It's being run through the setting and usual workflow of our Alfred Late Effects Clinic. Our target population are survivors of blood cancer who've been treated with stem cell transplantation. And the overall aim of the project is to enable these survivors to take an active role in developing healthy eating and physical activity patterns to benefit them for their future health, well-being, and particularly quality of life. So, stemming from this is quite a busy slide, I apologise, but these are the project objectives. The first was to implement something that was innovative to address an area of identified but unmet need. We wanted to ensure that this was community-based and that survivors could interact with their peers. In keeping with the general philosophy of the clinic, we wanted to empower these people to be active participants in their own health care. And we also wanted to promote cancer survivorship more broadly and engage the larger community. One of the things we were hoping to do was to develop a model that would be directly transferable across tumour streams. There were 5 key components to our project, and I'll speak briefly to each of these. The first is our nutrition program, and we adopted a Coach for Heart Health model, which has been very effective in rehabilitation following cardiac disease and myocardial infarction. So following initial face-to-face intervention with a dietitian, a series of follow-up coaching phone calls have made over the period of 12-month project involvement. At project exit, the participant is once again reviewed face-to-face, and they've had an ongoing referral to a community dietitian if needed at that time point. We've coupled this with individual physical activity plans, which have been tailored to the person's past medical history, their level of current fitness, and their overall goals. This is community-based and has been cost-neutral to the participant. All people have been offered a referral to physiotherapy or exercise physiology prior to engaging in their physical activity. And you'll all appreciate that one size didn't fit all, and so there were a variety of activity plans that were developed, including gym memberships, yoga, Pilates. You can see some of them on the slide. In addition to individual physical activities, we arranged a number of group physical activities every 6 to 8 weeks in various locations around South Melbourne. Family members were invited to come. You can see from the photos there some of the activities. We've had bike riding, barefoot bowls, croquet, etc. It was our intention to engage general practice in this project, but really it has been one of the most challenging and least successful aspects of our project. All nominated GPs receive a survivorship care plan, as is our standard practice through our clinic. In addition, they've been sent an information pack and encouraged to develop a GP management or team care arrangement plan for their patient. We've had wide communication through flyers, publications in their literature and presentations at conferences. Not surprisingly, cancer survivors have trouble maintaining good intentions like the rest of us, so we've embedded into the project a number of incentive strategies, including newsletters, our handbook, training diaries, and a number of branded products, which you can see there, frisbees, water bottles, pedometers, to help them in their goals. One of the key resources developed is our participant handbook, which contains detailed information about goal setting, nutrition and physical activity, and within this are detachable worksheets and diaries. This is our food record diary. In addition, there's meal planners and shopping lists, and this is our physical activity training diary. An example of one of our monthly newsletters is shown. Typical inclusions are healthy recipes, frequently asked questions of our dietitian, and educational articles. Our evaluation was multifaceted. Questionnaires were delivered to participants at baseline, 6 months and 12 months, and covered the aspects of quality of life, fatigue, diet and physical activity habits. On the 2 face-to-face occasions, we also took anthropometric measures, so height, weight, blood pressure, and participants underwent a number of blood tests looking at lipid profiles and fasting glucose. Our baseline findings. So between July of 2012 and June of last year, we recruited 53 participants. 48% were male, and the median age was 48. Yes, 48. Our youngest was 24 and our oldest participant was 69. On average, it had been 6 years since their transplant. To date, 3 participants have withdrawn, which we think is a very low attrition rate, and they've cited personal reasons for doing so. At baseline, these participants were representative of our later phase clinic attendees in general. There was very high rates of central obesity, nearly 60% were hypertensive, diabetes was found in 17%, and dyslipidemia in nearly half. Also reported was severe debilitating fatigue in 15%. Quality of life measures, particularly relating to physical and emotional well-being, were below population means. Nutrition scores were low, and physical activity habits were very suboptimal. So we've had rolling recruitment. All participants now have finished their 6 months on project, and 41 evaluations have been returned. That's an 80% return rate. We've got 38 participants in total now who are off project, and 15 have returned their 18-month evaluations. Obviously, the data I present today for 12 and 18 months will be interim. So these are our self-reported outcomes. What we found was that by 6 months, a third of participants had improved fatigue levels, and this included all but one participant who had severe fatigue at baseline. Over the course of 18 months, improved nutrition scores were very obvious, and there was a corresponding drop in unhealthy eating behaviours. In terms of quality of life, improved overall quality of life was reported by nearly 50% of participants at 18 months. 40% had improved functional well-being, and improved emotional well-being, an unexpected outcome, was reported in a third. With regards to physical activity, this slide, I think, really highlights the gains that were made. So at baseline, only 24% of participants were active enough to expect any meaningful health gains. By 6 months of project participation, this had increased to 62%, and I hope you can appreciate that that's then been maintained out to 12 months. We took a comparator group from the clinic of matched people who chose not to participate in the project. And we used this to make a comparison between those who did and those who did not have the structured intervention. And what we saw that in the non-project people, over an observation period of 12 months, on average they gained 1 kilogram in weight. By comparison, those who were involved in the project lost 3.5 kilograms on average, which is a highly statistically significant difference between the two groups. Similarly, in terms of weight circumference, which is a measure of visceral adiposity, the non-participant group increased their weight circumference by 2 centimetres and the project people dropped theirs by nearly 4 centimetres. So again, highly statistically significant. Similar findings for blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic blood pressure rising in the non-treatment group and dropping by 3 millimetres for both measures in the project participants. For those who had abnormal lipids at baseline, the vast majority of people had improvement in their 12-month measures, and 50% of those with abnormal blood glucose also showed reduction. There are a number of qualitative outcomes that we examined, and this is really just a snapshot, but to highlight that the program was very acceptable and highly valued by the participants. The majority of people intend to continue with their healthy lifestyle following the end of the project. Carers report that they can see the benefits in their family members, and also surprisingly and gratifyingly, 85% of carers say that they personally benefit from their family members' involvement. So moving forward in terms of sustainability, the most successful elements of our project are going to be incorporated into the existing suite of services supplied by the Leukemia Foundation. The new project, or the new program called Jumpstart, will be a 12-week intervention. It will have facilitated goal setting, as did our project. It will have a strong education component, nutrition and physical activity guidelines. There'll be electronic capture of activity and weekly follow-up phone calls and support. So these are the people I wish to acknowledge. Obviously the Department of Health, my Late Effects Clinic team, the project team, my colleagues in the Malignant Haematology and Stem Cell Transplant Service, and of course those people who participated and their family. And if anyone would like a few more details, this was obviously a very brief presentation. They can find them at our website, and that's the address there. Thank you.